Two temples in Israel. On September 10th, 2023, Yahuwah told me to rise and measure the temple of God. This scripture is found in Revelation chapter 11, verse 1. Yahuwah also told John the Revelator to rise and measure the temple of God. Now, I know this is a reference to Ezekiel's temple, which is found in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 40 through 48. Now, this is where God took Ezekiel to a very high mountain in Israel and showed him a view of a future city in Israel where the third temple would be standing. Ezekiel was one of the captive Israelites taken to Babylon. Now, in that vision, Ezekiel watched an angel as he measured the entire temple complex, and he recorded the measurements for the other captives to see. Now, when Ezekiel was taken in this vision to see this magnificent temple, this was after the original Solomon's temple had been destroyed by the Babylonians, and this was around 586 BC. In other words, there was no temple in Jerusalem at that time. Plus, when Ezekiel was shown his temple, was given his vision, there was no way that the technology of that day could build the temple that was being shown to him. This was a vision of a future temple in a future time and age. In other words, the technology that we have or they had at that time couldn't build that temple. The technology simply was not available at that time to build the Ezekiel's temple that was being shown to him. But guess what, brothers and sisters? Now that very temple can be built. We can build that temple now. We now have the necessary technology and the know-how to make this happen. However, the only place in Israel where Ezekiel's temple can actually stand is in the Judean desert. In other words, the text that in the book of Ezekiel describes in much detail a temple, but that temple is a huge temple, and it will not fit on the Temple Mount. It can only fit in the Judean desert, which is in the south part of Israel. And that is exactly where Ezekiel saw the temple in his vision. That temple that he saw was not on the Temple Mount. It was positioned in the Judean desert, and that is the only place in Israel that it will fit. Now, brothers and sisters, the temple of God is a temple that is found in the book of Ezekiel. God described that temple, and God will have his temple, and it will be the magnificent structure that he described in the book of Ezekiel. Go and read chapters 40 through 48. The Ezekiel temple is a prophetic miracle that will be built by God himself. And I believe that he is going to build it and bring it out of heaven very soon. Now, as I told you before, on September 10th, 2023, just a few days ago, Yahuwah said to me, "You will be given a rod. Rise and measure the temple of God." He wants me to measure the temple of God, not the other temple. He has not allowed me to get this statement out of my mind. So I will have to keep posting information as I am researching it and as he is giving me information on that. And another thing that I want to mention, I want to make another point about two cities. You see, Revelation chapter 11 speaks of two cities. It speaks of a holy city, the one that will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles. This is in Revelation 11:2. And it speaks of a great city, one that is like Sodom and Egypt. Brothers and sisters, these are two different places in Israel. The temple of God will be built in the holy city, which is the original site of Jerusalem, which is in the Judean desert. In contrast, the Jews' temple will be built in the great city, the one that we now call Jerusalem. But this is not the original site of Jerusalem, which is the Jerusalem of the Jebusites. But I do want to mention this. The Jerusalem, let me get it out. The Jerusalem is the place where the two witnesses will be killed, and it is the place where their dead bodies will lie in the street for 3.5 days. Yes, I am saying that there very well may be two temples constructed in the land of Israel. One is the temple of God, the one that God told me to rise and measure, and the other one is the temple of the Jews. He did not tell me to rise and measure the temple of the Jews. I was told to rise and measure the temple of God. So, brothers and sisters, that is all that I have for today, and I will say shalom until the next time. Please, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Shalom until next time.